Alright, practice problems. Change my color here. How do we add numbers together? So let's go through this again. Let's add together these two decimal numbers, 25 and 39. So when we add, we look at each column here. And I consider, do I have anything coming into this column? And do I have anything going out of this column? 9 and 5 together gives me 14. So that gives me a 4. And I have a 1 coming out of that column. Then when I look over here, what do I have coming in? What do I have coming out? First of all, I add these together. I have a 5 plus 1 coming in is 6. Do I have anything coming out? No, I do not. So that adds up to 64. Okay? Basic operation for decimals, the same thing we do for binary. So when I look at this here, zero and 1 together gives me a 1. I didn't have anything coming in. I've got nothing going out. 1 and 1 together plus nothing coming in gives me a 0. Gives me a 1 coming out. One and 0 gives me a 1 plus 1 coming in gives me a 0. 1 coming out. 0 and 0 gives me a 0 plus a 1 coming in gives me that as my result. Just verify this quickly in my head. That is a 7 plus a 2 gives me 9. This number is actually 9. That's good. Do this big number here more quickly. That's a 1. That's a 1. That is a 0 with a 1. That all together comes up to 0 with a 1. That is a 0 with a 1. That is a 1 with a 1 and a 1. Okay, that is binary addition. Subtract these two numbers. Here I need to borrow. This goes in, that becomes 15. That's a 1. 15 minus 9 is a 6. 1 minus 1 is a 0. Okay, that's a borrow. 1 minus 0 is 1. 1 minus 1 is a 0. 0 minus 1 is a 1. Alright, just going to reshoot this one here and go slower. Everyone is good with what we're doing for subtracting. Subtracting is probably the most complicated of these functions. So let's look at here. Let's just check these numbers just to make sure we know what they are here. So this one on the top is 32 plus 16 plus 5. That is, I want to figure out what these are first. 51, 53. 53 minus 32 plus 8 plus 6. I guess 53 minus 46 equals 7. So the result should be 7 here. Just want to make sure we get that in the end. Okay, so let's go through this. Let's look individually here. Each column. 1 minus 0 gives us a 1. There is no borrowing going on here. 0 minus 1. That is a difference of 1 with a borrow. So we need to borrow from this. So this is going to become a 0. Okay? So that had a 1 to borrow, so we could reduce that to a 0. Now a 0 minus a 1 here, again, is a 1, and we need to borrow. Now when we borrow from here, we're going to change this to a 1. Which means we need to borrow from here, which changes this to a 0. Okay, because we had nowhere to borrow from. Okay, so now we're all good. So now we have a 1 minus a 1, which yields a 0. A 0 minus a 0, which yields a 0. And a 1 minus a 1, which yields a 0. And we are all done. Okay? And our result here is basically this. That number is equal to 7, which is what I should have, which is good. So that is what we need to do. So the important thing here to remember is when you start borrowing, if you're borrowing from a 0, you need to keep on borrowing from the next column over as well. Okay? Much like if you were borrowing from, if we had 89 minus 100, you couldn't just borrow from here. You would actually have to change that down to a 9, change that down to a 0, and change this to a 10 basically to give you a 1 and a 1. Okay, same operation as there. And that is our binary subtraction. Binary subtraction is probably one of the more complicated things that we will do. And because we do that, it kind of gives you an idea of why you would want to do a 2's complement. Remember how we talked earlier about 2's complement? Because subtracting these numbers, if you could take a 2's complement of this instead and just add the 2's complement, the circuitry and functionality behind it is actually easier than doing the subtraction. Okay, so that is it for the lesson for this week. So we will do the lab to go along with this as well. And that is it for week number 7. Thank you.